What is crack-a-lackin', everybody? It is JT the OCG coming to you from the place to be, the trade deadline. All right. Well, let's start off with every team. First, our own. I said I wouldn't really have anybody to trade, but we made some minor trades. We had Heston Kjerstad. He was a potential guy, but we really needed some reliever help. So we got Jean Torres, who is not as talented as Heston, but we got this Brandon Waddell, who is a very good relief pitching prospect, and that's what we need. And I believe he's also left-handed, so we got him. We got Greg Diekeman, Austin Beck, Pete Kozma from the Athletics for Kyle Stowers, Greg Allen, who we picked up from waivers from the Yankees, and Jordan Westberg, one of our very talented infielders. But Austin Beck is pretty talented. Diekeman is good, and these guys have something that we really need, and that is plate discipline. We are last in on-base percentage and like very close to striking out a lot. So we need different people. We also acquired Casey Martin, a C-rated prospect. Dwayne Underwood Jr., a C-rated prospect, but he has a good mixed pitches that I really like. And Blake Wayman, who is a very good prospect. Again, a left-handed pitcher, very good prospect. And that's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get good left-handed prospects. We got him for the Pirates for Freddie Galvis because Newman's hurt, and they traded away their second baseman. I can't remember his name. But anyways, and then we give him Fernando Abad and Eric Hanhold. Hanhold was a decent prospect. But the big thing there is Freddie Galvis, because the Pirates are not giving up. They're still in the wild card race. We also got Jorge Mateo from the Padres for Pat Valleca. They have Jordan Profar, but Jordan Profar is batting like 178, so they sent him to AAA, and they really needed a be-all catch-can, especially since the Padres have Machado's out for a couple of months. And we basically did two trades here. So we got Brian O'Grady, again, a guy with not a lot of power, not a lot of good average, but he's got plate discipline. Justin Lang, who's just an average prospect, and Michelle Baez, who is a very good reliever prospect for Macau Franco. Felix Hernandez, because they do need a starting pitcher because Paddock and Snell are doing horrible over there. And we got Cesar Valdez. I don't know why they call him a starting pitcher because we were using him as a closer. And he is becoming one of their main rotation guys because they needed a rotation guy. So this really helps them as well because, they got Valleca and Franco to make up for Machado being out for probably to the end of September if he comes back at all. He's got a pretty big injury. And Felix Hernandez is probably going to help them when it comes to the starting pitching. We also got Josh Harrison from the Nationals for a decent shortstop prospect, Nicole Hernandez. And again, Josh Harrison, guy who has good plate discipline, doesn't strike out a lot. We got Michael Lorenzen from the Raiders for a very good starting pitcher prospect, Kyle Bradish. We are going to have Lorenzen be a two-way player because he can hit. So we're going to put him out in the outfield because he is also cited that he would like to be a two-way player. So that's what we're doing. And then we got right-handed pitcher Pat Venditti. But Pat Venditti is the only switch pitcher in all of Major League Baseball so far, which means if a left-hander comes up, he will switch and start pitching left-handed. So I just wanted that. I just wanted that for this year. My rebuilding year, I wanted Lorenzen to make him a two-way player, and I wanted Venditti because I wanted to see that switch pitching. We also got Devin Hairston, who's a decent shortstop prospect for Brennan Hanafy and Antonio Servideo, who's really knocking the crap out of the ball in Double A. So he will probably be something very important for the Tritons. Again, no blockbuster trades. We really didn't get away with anything. But here's the thing, when I had trading on, the computer traded for me. They traded for me. They traded Cedric Mullins for Morton and Drew Waters to the Braves. I was like, are you kidding me? So that's when I cut off trading and I decided to do it myself. Speaking of, the Red Sox were standing pat. They just they got Ivan Castillo, who was he was pretty talented second baseman, because Arroyo wasn't cutting it, so he went down to AAA. So they have Castillo in there for left-handed, yeah, because Kiki Hernandez goes to center field versus left-handed, but right-handed Kiki Hernandez is at second base. But this guy is a very good infield backup. So they got him for Eduard Bazardo and Mac Wainwright. Then they got Drew Steckenrider for Michael Chavez, because the Mariners need somebody to spell Kyle Seager against left-handers, because Seager was not doing good against left-handers this year. And then they got Andy Young, another infielder, for Gilberto Jimenez and Jay Groom. The Yankees got Hosmer. So they wanted Hosmer. Hosmer's been doing very good in this new league where homers are down and contact is up. That falls right into Eric Hosmer's wheelhouse. Like, everyone says Hosmer's got the worst contract ever. But now with our new universe and there's no DH and anything like that, Hosmer is actually very wanted. So the Yankees grabbed him because they have Edwin Encarnacion versus left-handers. So they got a nice 1-2 punch. So Hosmer against righties and Encarnacion versus lefties. They also got rid of Grant Little and Nick Birdie for Voit. Frazier, who was doing so horrible, got sent to AAA, and Lucas Lutej, who was doing great. And he's not a left fielder; he's a relief pitcher. He's a left-handed relief pitcher, but he just had no room on the Yankees rotation. The big one, they got Trevor Story, Michael Gibbons, and John Gray for the Rockies for Nestor Cortez, who got a call up here and there, was not doing so good. So Aswa Peraza, who is a very, very good defensive shortstop. Light hitting shortstop, but boy, he's great defensively. And Jonathan Loaiga, who is talented, but was not showing it this year and got sent down to AAA when his ERA was like 7. So those, Peraza is probably in AA, but Cortez and Loaiga are going to be on the big league roster for the Rockies. They all, and then there's another one, Beck Way for the Tigers from Miguel Cabrera. I could not believe that. That was a horrible trade, so I did it. I reversed that one. No way. And it just shows that, you can't trust the damn computer. So that's why I have 32 team control to redo stuff like that. I mean, and that was before Miguel Cabrera hit his 500th home run. Why would the Tiger? Yeah, see, that's the thing the computer can't put into anything. It can't relate with that. There's no way the Tigers would have traded Miggy Cabrera on the way to 500 home runs, and he's on his way to 3,000 hits. He probably get 3,000 hits this year too. The Expos, formerly the Rays, they got Escobar and Candelario for a shortstop and second base prospect, and the reason they got Alcides Escobar is because Wander Franco was hurt for probably like 3 weeks. So they didn't want to get somebody permanent, but they wanted to get somebody just as a stopgap, and Escobar is hitting really well this year. A good veteran presence there, not bad defensively either. They got David Bote from the Cubs for shortstop Taylor Walls. So they got rid of Walls, got Escobar. They got some prospects from the Mets for Waka and Jalen Beeks, who basically was a prospect, who was a good prospect, but he was doing so horrible. He was all the way down in Double-A this year. And then they got Pablo Sandoval and Jonathan Lucroy from the Braves for Dalton Kelly and Debbie Grulin. And Sandoval is going to be very important because both of their first basemen are injured, and Sandoval was doing pretty good this year. Didn't have a lot of at-bats, but he was hitting the ball. Then they got Steven Duger, Sammy Long, and Sam Delaplane from the Giants for Kiermaier, who's 30 years old, and it's a Rays thing to get rid of older veterans. So they got rid of Kiermaier, Rich Hill, and Chaz Rowe. And Duger's decent. They also got a center field prospect down there. And they have starting pitching prospects up the wazoo, so they do not need Rich Hill anymore. But the Giants did need a left-handed starting pitcher, and Kiermaier was hitting. God, I think he was only hitting 230 this year, and Duger was only hitting about 240. So both of them, Kiermaier's great defensively, and Duger's not bad. So it's not like the Expos lost anything, but they got a decent. Starting pitcher prospect in Sammy Long. So that's the Expos. The Blue Jays really didn't do anything. They are confident in what they have. But they did get Nelson Cruz because their left fielder, Gordez Jr., is out for a couple of months. So they got Nelson Cruz to make up for that. And that's really all they needed. And they got starting pitcher Mike Leake because they do have a starting pitcher, that Chatwood, that's not doing so good. And they also got Theo Barr, a nice reliever that they needed for Anthony Kay, and who was a good starting pitching prospect. I think his ERA was up like 4.8. So he wasn't, he's going through the bumps, but you can't have a guy going through the bumps when you're trying to get the division crown from the Yankees, Red Sox, and Expos. They also got Joe Pampas and Rowdy Tellez, because Rowdy Tellez is just kind of, there's nowhere he fit in the Blue Jays now, especially without the DH. So the White Sox, they got Kyle Gibson from the Rangers for a starting pitching prospect, Jimmy Lambert, who's doing really good down in the minors. And they got Michael Conforto and Jeff McNeil from the Mets for Adam Eaton and Nick Madrigal. Because the Mets also have Robinson Cano starting at second base. So basically, this was like a salary dump for the Mets as well, because they are right over the luxury tax. So that's and that works for them, because the Mets are kind of like, we're not giving up, but we're giving up because they weren't doing so good. The Indians got Brock Holt and Ian Kennedy from the Rangers for Gabriel Arias and Brad Peacock. Brad Peacock, a good reliever, but the Indians have a great bullpen this year, so he was just the odd man out. Brock Holt is there because Jose Ramirez is out for the year. So they also got Pete Crow Armstrong, Drew Smith, and Marcus Stroman from the Mets for Jordan Lupao, Sam Hetkins, and Cam Hill. So again, the Mets are basically accumulating younger talented players, trying to get rid of some guys. The Tigers, they got Genesis Cabrera, who's very, very talented, Lane Thomas, who's a talented guy, and Zach Thompson, who's okay, for the Cardinals for Jose Scenario, Matthew Boyd, and Boog Powell. So Matthew Boyd, good starter, and he's probably going to help the Cardinals. Genesis Cabrera, very, very talented, but his ERA he had like 40 innings pitched, and his ERA was almost 8. So it's just one of those things where, like, you could be as talented as anything, but if you're not producing, and the Cardinals are trying to get the division crown, you're out of here. So, and Lane Thomas he's just surplus there for the Cardinals, but for the Tigers, he's going to be a nice platoon guy right now, and it depends and Robbie Grossman, their left fielder now, they're probably going to kind of eke him out from the starting starting lineup, but for now it's basically going to be like a platoon with Lane Thomas getting playing time. So they have Badu there, and in right field they have a very good, a young but not so young Seiyo Suzuki, who you'll see who's getting bid on actually this right now. And again, there's that stupid Miguel Cabrera trade. The Royals are not giving up. They got Yoshimito Susugu and Victor Gonzalez, a very good relief pitcher from the Dodgers, for Ryan O'Hearn, who's great against. He's a left-handed hitter. He's great against right-handed pitching and garbage versus left-handers. So he's basically a platoon player, and the Dodgers are going to use him as a 1-2 punch. So against a right-hander, he's going to be the pinch hitter. Against left-handers, Albert Pujols will be the pinch hitter. And the Dodgers have that luxury because they are stacked. So it works for the Dodgers, and it works down the line. Sasugo's in AAA, but he is going to probably be the guy that starts platooning with Carlos Santana next year and then taking over. Victor Gonzalez is right into the rotation for the Royals, who actually are trying to get a wild card. And of course, they got rid of Escobar for some prospects. Then they got John Lester, Daniel Hudson, and Kyle Schwarber from the Nationals for a very, very good prospect, Asalasi. A decent prospect in Andres Sotilid and Anderson Miller, who I don't think is a relief pitcher. So he's a outfielder. But yeah, Kyle Schwarber and John Lester. So the Royals are going for it this year. They're going to try. See if that works out. The Twins, they basically just got Cameron Maybin from the Mets for an average prospect. Maybin was in AAA, toiling down there. He wasn't going to get a call up, but he is going to platoon with Max Kepler, a left-handed guy in right field. So it'll be Kepler and then Maybin versus righties. And the Twins really do need a backup outfielder. They have Jake Cave, but that's about it, and he's not great. So we'll have to see if Cameron Maybin can make a nice little half season here. He was an all-star. He was a AAA all-star this year so far. So, and then of course they got Anthony Kay that they put right into the rotation. The Astros, they got Will Smith, Dansby Swanson, and outfielder Christian Pache. Is it outfielder? I think it's an outfielder from the Braves for Gray Kessinger, a decent shortstop, a very good relief pitcher Brian Abreu, and a great center fielder in Miles Straw, who goes right to center field for the Braves. The Braves aren't really giving up. They put Orlando Arcia into shortstop, and Will Smith wasn't really cutting it. You know, he was okay, but he wasn't great. So, yeah, so they got rid of him and got some prospects, but they got Miles Straw as well, who's going to really do well. This was, they had some kind of freaking, the computer traded Mark Khanna to the Angels, and the Angels have 3 very good outfield backups. So, yeah. So I just redid that one. So Khanna's going back to the freaking Athletics. But the Angels are staying put. I mean, they're doing really well. They have really good backups. They have Phil Gosselin, Juan Lagares, Fowler. I forgot it's not Dustin Fowler. It's the other Fowler, Dexter Fowler, who was with the Cardinals and Cubs for a long time. So they got really good backups as well. And Mike Trout is healthy, and Ohtani is healthy. Rondon is healthy, so they're hanging in there. They're in second place, and they're above 500. The Athletics, I don't know exactly what the Athletics, what I wanted to do with the Athletics. They're kind of rebuilding, but they're kind of also wanting to compete. So they got Jared Young and Ryan Tempera from the Cubs for Frank Schwindel and Zach Johnson. They got Starlin Marte, just like in real life. And they also got Anthony Bass from the Tritons for Roman Laureano, who was hitting like 198. and Argenis Angalo. But the big thing is that Argenis is a very good relief pitching. Anthony Bass was basically had an ERA in the eights, so it's makes sense. And then they got Perez Garcia, a very good shortstop, by the way, Jose Garcia, who is on the cusp of making the big league roster from the Reds for Trevor Rosenthal, Homer Bailey, Homer Bailey was doing great. So yeah, and they got Reaver San Martin from the Reds. Oh, so this was a 4-person trade for Yasmiro Petit. So the Reds really trying to bolster their bullpen, and they did, which in real life the Reds bullpen was their undoing. That's the Pirates guy, Adam Frazier. So the Mariners got Adam Frazier, Rick Porcello, and Phillip Evans from the Pirates for Tyler Keenan, Jake Bowers, and George Kirby. So the Pirates are basically stocking up some first basemen because Colin Moran is probably not going to get an arbitration this year, and they really want to up their first baseman game. So Jake Bowers is pretty good, and he can play corner outfielder as well. George Kirby, very good starting pitching prospect. He is not a first baseman. But yeah, and the Mariners really needed him because their second baseman Moore was hitting about 190. So Moore goes to like a utility guy on the bench, and Adam Frazier is right there batting second right behind J.P. Crawford. And I think they've done better for it. And Rick Porcello was having a magnificent year this year. And, of course, they got Michael Chavez from the Red Sox for Steckenrider. Steckenrider was not doing so well this year. But as soon as he goes to the freaking Red Sox, he starts doing well. But Chavez is doing well for them. The Rangers were sellers. So they got, they got rid of Brock Holt and Ian Kennedy. They got rid of Kyle Gibson. Here's the big one. They got Huascar Noai and Ender Encarnacion for Joey Gallo and Tyson Ross. So they got rid of Joey Gallo, but Yanoa is the big prospect right there. Tyson Ross was just basically, he's like a 33-year-old that's just in AAA. Probably would have got cut anyways, but Noah is the guy. It's Noah for Joey Gallo, basically. I just kind of trade like an outfielder for an outfielder, pitcher for a pitcher, so I don't have to finagle the rosters too much. I like them to kind of have like 20 pitchers, 20 starting pitchers, 20 relief pitchers, that kind of thing. And then they got that's the computer. Again, that's the computer. That trade made no sense. It just made no sense. But I let it go. I didn't reverse that one. The Braves. Now, the Braves are still trying to compete. They're still trying to catch the Phillies, as the Phillies kind of like are stumbling just like they do in real life. They got Alex Dickerson and Rafi Vizcaino for the Giants for Ozuna and Jesse Chavez. So Vizcaino is a very good relief pitcher. Dickerson and Ozuna was not doing so good. So the Giants are hoping that, he can come alive there in San Francisco. And Dickerson is basically going to be kind of a platoon player for the Braves. They got Dalton Kelly and Gruyen. DB Gruyen is a very good catching prospect. And then, of course, they got Joey Gallo. So they put Joey Gallo in right field because Acuna is hurt again. And Acuna is probably going to be hurt until about September. That's not good. And that's it. And the Tritons were basically sellers. So, they traded with us, got rid of Vendetti, who was in AAA doing nothing for him, and Devin Heston, who's a shortstop prospect, who's behind other prospects. Servito could play second base and third base. Hairston cannot. And so they're just building up, like starting in relief pitching. And then they did get Hunter Strickland, who they made their closing pitcher. Luis Urias, who is only hitting about 223 for the Brewers, with maybe 6 home runs, and Esfil Garcia, who for some reason just signed with the Marlins. So Go ahead. Life imitating my stuff is imitating life. And they traded him for Yimi Garcia, who was doing really good as their closer, even though he had limited appearance. Brian Anderson, their third baseman, who was slumping, and right fielder Adam Duvall, who was the big piece because the Brewers need power. Esfiel Garcia is okay, but he's not. Adam Duvall is so much better power wise than Garcia. And they're hoping Brian Anderson can kind of like platoon with Travis Shaw over there. So Travis Shaw is the left-hander, and they're hoping Brian Anderson can kind of like come alive over there in Brewerville. Sometimes it's only a change of scenery. The Mets. We went through all of the Mets here. Yeah, we did. We already did that one. They got Michael Wacha and Jalen Beeks. Yep. The Phillies, they got Matt Kemp, Daniel Bard, and Tyler Flowers, catcher, not a relief pitcher, catcher, from the Rockies for Ryan Cordell, J.D. Hammer, and Rafael Marchand, who is a very, very good catching prospect. Doesn't have a lot of power, but he's great defensively, great, and very good average-wise. So he could probably be the catcher of the future. J.D. Hammer is already in the rotation for the Rockies, a young relief pitcher. Ryan Cordell is a very good left-handed hitting left fielder. But basically, this is a salary dump. So Matt Kemp was doing very well for the Rockies this year, but he's 38 years old, or 36. Daniel Bard is 35, and Tyler Flowers is 37. So basically, the Phillies just grabbed some guys that they thought would be an upgrade to what they had, and let them go next year. The Phillies grabbed Lolo Sanchez, Trevor Cahill, and Elmaro Vargas from the Pirates for McCutchen. Yes, I sent Andrew McCutchen back to Pittsburgh. Ranger Suarez, which I hated to do. I'm a Phillies fan. I love Ranger Suarez, but you know what? If you're gonna get some guys, you got to give something up, especially if you're dumping Andrew McCutchen's salary to the Pirates to try to get a very talented guy, Lolo Sanchez, and a starting pitcher who's doing great, very good this year in Trevor Cahill, and a shortstop prospect in Vargas. Yeah, and Casey Martin's just an average prospect, but the big one right there was Ranger Suarez for the Pirates. That's who they wanted. They also wanted McCutchen because they also are trying to compete. They're trying to get that wild card. The bittersweet thing here is that the Phillies and Pirates did meet, and Ranger Suarez had a complete game shutout. I believe it was a shutout, 3-hitter versus the Phillies, as in screw you. And the Phillies also got Chris Bryant, Craig Kimbrell, and Trevor Williams from the Cubs for Jake Elmore, Spencer Howard, and Sir Anthony Dominguez. Sir Anthony Dominguez, very, very talented relief pitcher. And I believe he went right to becoming the Cubs closer. He's a young guy. Spencer Howard, young, talented prospect. And Jake Elmore, not so talented, but, the Phillies were taking on a lot of salary. So, Jake Elmore was a salary kind of like offshoot for that. But this big thing was Spencer Howard and Sir Anthony Dominguez, especially Sir Anthony Dominguez. He'll probably be a Cub for a good 5 years, and he'll probably be their closer. The Nationals traded with us. They got that. They got Nick Lodolo, who was a very good prospect and doing very well. He kind of upped his prospect stuff. And Nick Senzel, who's usually injury prone, but has not been injury prone this year and has done very well for the Reds. And they have a surplus of center fielders. They have Tyler Nyquin, and they have a Japanese center fielder who's doing very well as their starter. So they give Nick Senzel to the Nationals, and the Nationals need a center fielder because Robles is not doing so great. And they got Max Scherzer and an average prospect, Carlos Taki. They also got Patrick Bailey, one of the best prospects catcher-wise, and he's with the Giants. Marco Luciano, one of the best shortstop prospects, and starting pitcher Jake Wan from the Giants for Trey Turner, Brad Hand, and Joan Adon. So the Nationals really did a rebuild. Did a rebuild trade deadline stuff. A plus, A plus. The Cubs didn't do that bad either. They got, of course, they dumped Chris Bryant there. They acquired Pavin Smith, who's doing really well and kind of upped his overall this year for the Beavers, and Ben Heller, who's an A potential reliever. He's a little older. He's 26, but he's still an A potential reliever for the Beavers, and they give them Anthony Rizzo and Rex Brothers, who was a closer in AAA. But the Beavers need a left-handed relief pitcher, and Rex Brothers maybe can be that guy. But the big thing here is Anthony Rizzo. They got rid of Christian Walker to the Brewers, and Pavin Smith was doing okay, but Anthony Rizzo is better than Pavin Smith. And then the Dodgers just keep getting stronger. The Cubs got a nice reliever in Brustar Gratolio. They got an old guy, Scooter Gennett, in AAA, and they got a very good starting pitcher prospect in Mitch White for Ryan Jansen, Andrew Chafin, and shortstop Javier Baez, who is now second base. So basically, sort of like the Trey Turner trade, but Trey Turner is now a Giant. And so Javier Baez is now the second baseman for the Dodgers. So we have to see how that goes. That San Francisco, Los Angeles battle down over there in the West. I believe the Giants are 5 games back from them, but they're the number one team for the wild card. Yep, the Reds got Trevor Rosenthal, so they got a closing pitcher that they desperately needed. Max Scherzer gives them a great starting 5, and Mario Petit is a very good middle reliever. The Brewers, all they did was basically try to up their right field and third base game. That's all they tried to do. Didn't try to do anything special. And the Pirates kind of were like, well, we want somebody now, but we also want people in the future. So that's what they did. The Cardinals, I got Matthew Boyd. That's their big thing. Yeah, Matthew Boyd. They also got Dinelson Lamet from the Padres for right fielder Lars Nootbaar, who's a fan favorite over there in St. Louis. But Lamet was also a very good starting pitching prospect. The Beavers. Oh yeah, they got Dustin Fowler from the Pirates for Nick Heath because Brian Reynolds was out. So the Pirates are using Nick Heath, who was doing very well in a backup spot, and I believe he was also when one of their outfielders was hurt, Nick Heath stepped up and did a very good job. So that's why he was traded material. They also got Tyler Anderson from the Pirates. And the Pirates got 2 very good prospects. Another first base prospect, Seth Beer, and JP Bukakis. Bukakis. So the Beavers are going for it too. And the Beavers are, they're way behind in the West because the Giants and the Dodgers are running away with it. But, they're still in the hunt. And this is all this is all that. Giants get that. And if we look at the standings here, you can see the Blue Jays 5 games up from the Yankees, 62-44. That's why they really didn't do much. They're powerful. All they did was get like Nelson Cruz, basically. The Yankees, of course, got Trevor Story, and they got Eric Hosmer. and they've been doing pretty good. But they have lost to 7-3, 7-3. We are 7-3. We faced the Tigers and we won 3 of 4. We've been doing pretty good lately, even before our trades. So we're kind of sticking in there. We're not going to win. Hopefully, we won't lose 100 games. That's what I'm trying to do. 99 games lost. How about that? The Expos not doing as good as the Rays were in real life. Basically, injuries have been smacking them around. So if they get healthy, they'll get on fire, believe me. And the Red Sox, they're just kind of underperforming. And so they've done really bad in their last 10. They've lost 6 straight, 51 and 58. They really didn't do anything at the trade deadline because technically, like, they're good when it comes to the lineup. They got a talented staff that's healthy. So Chris Sale is awesome this year. So I don't. Yeah, they've just been losing like really weird ways. The White Sox are staying 3 ahead of the Indians. The Indians, made some trades. The White Sox up their game for second base at least. Jeff McNeil is going to be very good upgrade at second base, I think. And if Conforto can actually hit, the White Sox could kind of run away with that one. The Royals, again, like I said, the 53 and 52, they were like, you know what? We're going to kind of go for it. They got Yasuel Puig in right field because Soler is hurt. But yeah, they're trying to go for it, and their rotation's doing pretty good with those young guys. They got a mix of young guys, and now they got like John Lester for veterans. The Twins are basically said, you know what, it's not our year, but we're not doing a dump because we've had injuries. Buxton's been injured, Cruz has been injured, Sano has been injured, so they've had a lot of injuries, and their starting pitcher, their starting pitching has been injured too. So they're doing the smart thing. They're just like, you know what, next year if we're healthy, we're going to be contenders. So we got rid of Nelson Cruz and we got some prospects for him because he's like 42 years old. So, and there's no DH, so we're building on that. And the Tigers, they were standing put. They have some good prospects in the wings, but they're probably just like in real life. They'll probably go for free agency and see what they can do there. The Astros really didn't make any stuff. They got rid of Miles Straw because he was expendable. He was surplus. They have Jake Myers, another great center fielder that they just plugged right in there. And again, with no DH, they got 4 outfielders basically on the squad right now. Michael Brantley, and so they basically stayed put. Carlos Correa is hurt, but what they did was they just put their young rookie Abraham Toro in, and he's been okay. But they're still 7-3 since Korea's gone down. The Angels, like I said, they're 57-51. They've been staying put. They've been trying to keep up with the Astros. The Mariners, they've been doing really good after their trades to up their second base play. The Athletics have kind of gone downhill. But again, the Athletics are one of those teams that, don't try to give up. Until like the off season. Then in the off season they'll go, oh, this guy, no, we're not going to pay him, and then they trade him away in the off season. And the Rangers basically just did a salary dump, got rid of almost everybody, but they have some young guys that are they got some old guys and some veterans like Chris Davis and David Dahl, some of the veterans, and Leonardo Tavardo that are doing good, and so they got like some riffraff veterans and some rookies getting playing time, so great for them. That's just a rebuild year. And then the wild card, like everyone's in the wild card. All these guys that traded try to up their game. The Expos, the Royals. The Royals are only 3 games out of it. The Mariners only 5. Red Sox only 7. Twins are 9.5. But again, like I said, the Twins are sitting there going, maybe next year. And even us, we're only 12 out. The Tigers, the biggest one out at 19, but they knew they weren't going to compete this year anyways. Now we got the Phillies, 56-50. They were running away with this, but not anymore. Here come the Mets and here come the Braves. The Braves are very, very streaky this year, but then again, it's because of all their injuries. We'll have to see what their trades did. You know, Joey Gallo, see if he could kind of like keep up the pace with them. And the Mets, see if they could keep up the pace with some of their trades, like Michael Wacha in there instead of Stroman. Stroman was not doing so good this year. The Tritons are, well, they didn't trade away the farm, but they got some pieces. And then, of course, the Nationals are going to go downhill fast because they have nobody on there. They have a bunch of young guys and some AAA veterans that are playing now because they're giving up and they're rebuilding. The Reds are not giving up. Got Max Scherzer in there. You know, Joey Votto talked them into going to Cincinnati. The Brewers are hanging in there, even though they have, Yelich is not doing so well. That third baseman, Urias, who was supposed to be great, wasn't doing so well. They're still sticking in there because of their starting pitching. Of course, both their best starting pitching is hurt. As you can see, second in pitching up there. So that might hurt them. And it might make way for the Cardinals, who are the first in defense and the fourth in speed. So that's what the Cardinals are doing. And in this new age baseball, I'm surprised they're not running away with it. I really am. I mean, you still got fourth in power for the Reds, but my God, it's like I was trying to make this into a more 80s baseball kind of thing. And then, of course, the Pirates 3-7, but they still traded to try to get something going. We'll have to see. But they're 29th in power, but they're 8th in defense, and that's keeping them in. The Cubs are the ones that are basically like, get rid of everybody, and that's what they did, just like in real life. We'll have to see how that goes and see how far they fall, see if they lose 100 games. Dodgers just being dominant, although they looked more human in the last 10 games. They're 5-5. They're first in power, first in pitching, 9th in contact, 4th in defense, 20th in speed. Jesus. But then you got the Giants here, who no one thought was going to be here. 65-41. They're 2nd in contact, 8th in power, 3rd in pitching, 16th in defense, 27th in speed. They're not stolen base threats. They're station to station. But guess who they got? They got Trey Turner, so that 27th in speed and 16th in defense are going to go up. They really went all out to try to get Trey Turner. The Padres, we'll have to see. I mean, they're doing okay. They got 3rd defense. Their pitching should be higher. And without Machado, we'll have to see. But they're 7-3. And here's the big one: the Beavers, the former Diamondbacks, who went to Portland and now they're Portland Beavers, 56-51. Not so great in power, not so great in pitching, good in defense, not so great in speed, decent in contact, but they just find ways to win games, and that's what they're doing. So they're winning games. They love nighttime. 38-28 at night, 18-23 during the day. Just like real Beavers. And the Rockies gave up the ship. Got rid of Trevor Story, got rid of John Gray, but they got one of the best pitchers in all the league in Marquise, and the wild card is just up for grab. Look at that. The Giants, the Padres, the Brewers, the Cardinals, the Beavers, even the Mets and the Braves are in it, and the Pirates have an outside shot. Everybody else here, these guys, the Tritons, Nationals, Rockies, and Cubs have basically given up with the trade deadline. But the Pirates haven't, so maybe people think that's foolish, and same thing with the Braves. But they traded to get some pieces that they thought would fill some gaps, and didn't really spend a lot to get them. So We'll have to see. So that's the video now. That's the only video I got here. A very talky video. No gameplay this time. But yeah, that's it. That's the trade deadline. And next, we will play the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium. That's going to be something. And we're going to be with John Means. John Means is 5-8, 3.45. But guess what? He's given up the least home runs in the American League. I think he's only given up 6 home runs this year, which is amazing. So that's what we're going to do. We'll see if we're going to hold those big home run hitters down at New York against Jordan Montgomery, probably their worst starting pitcher. It's 6-7, 4.26, and that's saying something. That's not a very bad pitcher, Jordan Montgomery, 6-7, 4.26, and he's a lefty, so he'll be going against Michael Lorenz batting and playing outfield. So that'll be interesting. Thank you for joining me. Get off my interloan.